Yeah. Oh, we had that.
Won't go home.
Uh-oh. That's not Grievous.
How many arms does Grievous need?
Right?
Hard to tell these days. Facing. Don't get sloppy, okay? We'll stop you.
We did it.
All hail the Dark Lord of Kill Streaks. Anger and hate seize the day as Kylo Ren brings the match. Once again, the fearless determination of the Princess of Alderaan resolves another intergalactic crisis.
Forcible entry, Jesus. Oh. That Star Wars pun is pretty.
Today's contest will be a battle of wills. Hand blasters, lightsabers, lightning, and anything else you can maim your enemies with. And the slaughter is underway as evil attacks.
Look at me rolling, the grass type thing. You can't see me.
The dark side continues to eclipse the light. The villainous killing spree continues. Serve well.
You guys see them weaken.
How many arms does Grievous need?
Is that a riddle or a joke? It's all flying through the air.
Stop.
numbers still need to be reduced by half.
You're no killer. Right on sight. She's got a lightsaber.
Oh. Here comes the flying nun.
Faster!
Bash them to pieces.
Stay low.
Pity. Such a pity.
Yo, dudes, you should like join the Empire or something.
Now, you roll.
Here they come.
And then I got killed by BB-8.
We have found her.
Commanding performance from Iden Mercio.
Fun in that. Don't frighten me. There, more of them. Hit that shocker, buddy.
Grievous makes today's hero suffer as he delivers a crushing final blow. Darth Vader, proving once again, no one ends an argument like a Dark Lord of the Sith.
Past his prime rock star that all MAGA acolytes are morally obligated to treat like some sort of generational talent solely on account of his shitty politics. We're talking about Kid Rock.
My name is Kid!
The crossover that gets it right.
Yeah.
When I think of hell, I think of Kid Rock and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in their dungarees, palling around, sweating it out. Yeah, that's what.
I know you didn't expect to see me today, but the Supreme Court just ruled that most of Trump's tariffs are illegal in a 6-3 decision, saying that the Constitution gives Congress the power to impose taxes, not the president. And this is Trump's already collected $133 billion from these illegal tariffs. Democrats are demanding refunds, and Trump is melting down, calling it a disgrace, and he's already moving to get around the decision. For all of this to make sense, you need to understand that the key thing is that this ruling applies specifically to tariffs that were put into place under something called the International Emergency Economic Powers. This law that was passed back in 1977, giving the president broad economic powers to deal with any unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, policy, or economy of the country. It's a law that's been invoked dozens of times by various presidents to impose sanctions, block transactions, freeze assets, and restrict imports or exports. So really, until Trump, nobody had invoked the law to implement tariffs. One, because the law makes absolutely zero mention of that being a thing that you can do, and two, because the Constitution very clearly gives Congress the power to impose taxes, not the president. So there's that, and then as far as tariffs, those are just taxes imposed on imported goods. They're paid by whoever's bringing the goods in. Though actually, experts saying that the cost is often passed on to the consumer, though that is also a concept that Trump has really found difficult to grasp. Instead, insisting it's just going to be great for the country when he first invoked the law to put tariffs in place on goods from China, Canada, and Mexico, with the emergency having to do with illegal immigration and drug trafficking. And then he did it again in April when he put in place the so-called reciprocal tariffs on imports from every country on Earth. And the apparent emergency this time was the country's large and persistent trade deficits, and tariffs that each country got hit with were based on the size of those deficits. And also, since a trade deficit is inherently a bad thing, many experts argue that policy in general just made no economic sense. So the opposition to this came not only from the Democrats, but also the libertarian and pro-business groups, typically aligned with the Republican Party. In fact, polling showed that tariffs weren't broadly popular with the general public. Then actually, data came out just this week suggesting that they haven't been effective at their stated purpose, with the country's overall trade deficit reaching a record high in 2025. With all that said, right, these tariffs, they weren't struck down because they're bad policy. They were struck down today because they're just illegal. You had a 6-3 majority reaffirming the Constitution very clearly gives Congress the power to impose taxes, including tariffs. Chief Justice John Roberts, right, the framers did not vest any part of the taxing power in the executive branch. The government reads IEEPA to give the president power to unilaterally impose unbounded tariffs and change them at will. That view represents a transformative expansion of the president's authority over tariff policy. And truly, this is very big news. This is the first time that the Supreme Court evidently struck down Trump's second-term policy. Then, of course, with this, we've got to talk about the dissenting. This wasn't a unanimous decision on the dissenting side. Veto, Thomas, and Brett Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh arguing in his dissent that the tariffs at issue here may or may not be wise policy, but as a matter of text, history, and precedent, they are clearly lawful. He also took issue with the fact that the majority didn't address whether companies would get refunded for the tariffs they paid already. While it's higher now, as of December, the Treasury had collected over $133 billion from tariffs imposed under the Emergency Powers Law. Kavanaugh writing, the court says nothing today about whether, and if so how, the government should go about returning the billions of dollars that is collected from importers. And also acknowledging that process is likely to be a mess, as was acknowledged in the court. So on that note, one of the most vocal anti-tariff organizations in the United States, We Pay the Tariffs, has already launched a national sign-on letter calling for full, fast, automatic refunds. The group's director is saying today's Supreme Court decision is a tremendous victory for America's small businesses who have been bearing the crushing weight of these tariffs, but then adding, a legal victory is meaningless without actual relief for the businesses that paid these tariffs. The administration's only responsible course of action is to establish a fast, efficient, and automatic refund process that returns tariff money to the businesses that paid it. You also had Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren extending a similar argument to the American people, writing on Twitter, no Supreme Court decision can undo the massive damage that Trump's chaotic tariffs have caused. The American people paid for these tariffs, and the American people should get their money back. And then on top of that, you had California Governor Gavin Newsom, whose state actually sued the federal government over the tariffs, explicitly calling on Trump to issue tariff refund checks to Americans, saying, time to pay the piper, Donald. These tariffs were nothing more than an illegal cash grab that drove up prices and hurt working families, so direct long-standing alliances and extort them. Every dollar unlawfully taken must be refunded immediately with interest. Cough up. But also, again, right, it's not just the Democrats who are welcoming the Supreme Court's decision. You had Don Bacon, for example, one of the 6 House Republicans who recently voted to undo some of Trump's tariffs on Canada, saying the Constitution's checks and balances still works. This was a common sense and straightforward ruling by the Supreme Court, and adding, in the future, Congress should defend its authorities and not just rely on the Supreme Court. But then also Senator Rand Paul arguing that the court's decision makes plain what should have been obvious, and also arguing that it would prevent Democrats from abusing the emergency powers law in the future, writing, this ruling will also prevent a future president such as AOC from using emergency powers to enact socialism. Which also really quick, Rand, that counts as an endorsement, no take backsies. But also, Rand Paul and Bacon, they're kind of in the minority on the Republican side. For those Republicans who just really can't get the love and the taste of the food out of their mouth, the reaction has been different. Senator Bernie Moreno, for example, described the decision as a betrayal and called on fellow party members to get to work immediately on a reconciliation bill and modify the tariffs that made our country the hottest country on earth. And as far as Trump, he is taking this especially personal. He previously called the case one of the most important in U.S. history. He also warned that a decision against him would be a, quote, economic and national security disaster with catastrophic consequences, and even claiming it would literally destroy the United States of America. Today, when he first heard the news, he reportedly blasted the court's decision as a disgrace, and he later held a press conference to just absolutely bash the judges who ruled against him. That includes the two that he appointed.
I'm ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed, for not having the courage to do what's right for our country. The Democrats on the court are thrilled, but they will automatically vote no. They're an automatic Congress. They're against anything that makes America strong, healthy, and great again. They also are a, frankly, disgrace to our nation. They're just being fools and lapdogs for the rhinos and the radical left Democrats, and not that they should have anything at all to do with it. Very unpatriotic and disloyal to our Constitution. It's my opinion that the court has been swayed by foreign interests and a political movement that is far smaller than people would ever think.
And with all that, he went off on the normal tangent, making baseless claims about election fraud, and he also praised the judges who ruled on his side.
I'd like to thank and congratulate Justices Thomas and Alito and Kavanaugh for their strength, wisdom, and love of our country, which is right now very proud of those justices.
And then, hopefully, you and Trump confirming that he wasn't giving up, saying that he'll be going in a different direction to keep tariffs in place while continuing to brazenly insist that he can do it without Congress. And understand, none of that comes as a surprise. This is something the administration had in mind. Even had Kavanaugh arguing in his dissent that the court's decision is not likely to greatly restrict presidential tariff authority going forward. The ruling, it doesn't sound unconstitutional based on other law. But what might have surprised me is how fast they move. Trump confirming today that tariffs and other measures will be in place, and saying that he will be signing orders today to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122. That allows the president to issue tariffs to address what's called large and serious United States balance payments deficits or other situations that present, quote, fundamental international payments problems. And again, unsurprisingly, this has never been used this way before, and it's unclear that this will be legal way to do it. Also, even if it is, it only allows them to impose those tariffs for up to 30 days, after which they need congressional approval. Then also with this, you had Trump saying that they would use another authority, Section 301, to open investigations into unfair trade practices that could result in even more tariffs. So ultimately, while this is a major blow to Trump, and you saw him come down, it also ends up being a day where it's a reminder that he's willing to defy norms, laws, and the Constitution. It is something to keep our eyes on. I mean, the weekend, though, very possibly, depending on a number of things, the conversation is going to very quickly transition into wrong. But that is a conversation on Monday. We'll break with Monday. Love you, face. I'll see you right back here.
Holy shit.
Chosen one, countless victims. A commanding lead for goodness and light.
Oh shit. The tables have turned. We were winning a second ago.
Villainy steals the lead. Evil slithers past our heroes. The Raging Red is on a Kylo spree.
What? Oh, fucker.
Garcia brings the conflict to a close with military-like precision.
Yeah.